Way back in 1991, a new turn-based strategy game called Super Robot Wars was released on the original Game Boy. Mixing famous mecha from various anime, it started a series of games that now celebrates its 30th anniversary in the form of Super Robot Wars 30. Over the years, the Super Robot Wars games have evolved and grown considerably in terms of their complexity. They are now better described as tactical role-playing games, and have an enormous roster of mecha to choose from. Which brings me to Super Robot Wars 30 and its new structure and the general overhaul of the game's progression. Previously, the traditional route through a mainline Super Robot Wars game was very linear. In that, missions in the game occurred in a fixed sequential manner, which in turn fed into the mission branching. Most of this is gone in Super Robot Wars 30, as missions are now selectable and broken down into story and side missions. What's different here is that you can pretty much pour hours into side missions before the story actually progresses. Mission branching does still happen, but it's not as obvious as in the previous linear setup, and the onboard training missions are actual selectable stories now. It really took me a while to take on board this change, as it is a massive one compared to previous games in the series. Especially as it can feel a bit like gazing into a bottomless pit of missions at times. That said, the new mission setup did eventually gel when the DLC packs came along. These include new mecha and missions, and fit neatly and logically into a selectable mission approach. Apart from the new mission setup, the in-game HUD has a new cyclical design now, which is a curious choice, but works fine, and then we get to the Drystrager. In the last three mainline games, that of Super Robot Wars V, X and T, there has always been a battleship included from an anime that doesn't really feature mecha. In V, this was the Yamato from Yamato 2199, in X it was the Neo Nautilus from Nadia, and in T it was the Arcadia from Harlock. When it comes to Super Robot Wars 30, the battleship in question is an original creation designed by veteran mecha designer Kazutaka Miyatake, and is called the Drystrager. Moreover, the game also bases its back-end modifiers around the Drystrager. Instead of these being separate upgrades that carry over between playthroughs, partially forcing players to play the games multiple times. The Drystrager has separate upgrades that affect the other mecha both in-game and in the menus. From boosting energy and health regeneration in missions, to unlocking extra upgrade levels for the mecha in the menus. This means we now have three kinds of currency one for upgrading mecha, another for boosting the skills of your pilots, and this new system for the Drystrager. The Drystrager itself is also a monster in-game, and when fully upgraded is great fun to mess around with. It also ties the story behind the new Huckbind 30 and upgraded Huckbind 30th that are included in the game. Apart from all this, one other major point needs to be made. Even on the Japanese release of the game, there is a full English text localization from menus to dialogue. This took me a bit by surprise, as with the Japanese versions of the Super Robot Wars games, I have been used to playing them in, well, Japanese. Having an English option after all these years is just great. I suppose I should not have been too surprised though, as Super Robot Wars 30 was given an international release on PC, with both the PlayStation 4 and Switch versions also getting Asian releases. The latter is where the English localization normally resided. So to have English fully supported across all versions of the game is genuinely great. Finishing up, the battle animations are still very nicely done, and it's amazing to think how far the Super Robot Wars games have improved in this department. There is obviously some carryover between the games but there is a lot of new and even redone animation on show here, with the animations for both Zeta Gundam and Char's Counterattack being noteworthy in this regard. Overall, Super Robot Wars 30 is an excellent tribute to the 30th anniversary of the series. The new mission setup is a bit daunting at first, but works well on multiple playthroughs and with the new DLC. Considering the challenges the development team must have faced during the pandemic to get this game done, it's remarkable how well it all turned out.